Here is the striking paradox. IJN Shinano was the largest and most secret aircraft carrier built in total secrecy, rushed unfinished into the Pacific with a hold full of kamikaze weapons. After just 10 hours at sea, a single American submarine sank her, and her wreck has eluded discovery ever since. Shinano matters historically because she represented Japan's last desperate attempt to field overwhelming carrier power late in the war, and because her loss exposed critical flaws in shipbuilding, convoy protection, and naval logistics. Despite detailed records of the loss, the wreck remains missing because wartime position reports and after-action accounts conflict. The ship likely broke up or drifted while sinking, and the deep, complex seafloor in the suspected area can easily hide large wreckage. The ship is believed to rest between 2,000 and 4,000 meters on a steep, silty slope with strong currents and limited sonar reflectivity, a place where hull sections can be buried or scattered over a wide area. Where did she actually go down, and what physical clues from her frantic construction and chaotic final hours could still lead searchers to the wreck? Construction of Shinano began at Yokosuka Naval Arsenal, originally as a Yamato-class battleship. In the aftermath of the Midway disaster, blueprints were redrawn in secrecy. The hull, already immense at over 872 feet in length and designed for 72,000 tons full load, was cut down and reinforced to serve as an aircraft carrier. This conversion left deep traces in her structure. The armored belt, up to 16 inches thick, wrapped around a hull never meant for aviation, while the deck above was laid out in a broad, flat expanse 205 meters long, armored in places to resist bombs and interrupted by elevator wells that reached deep into the ship's core. Engineers at Yokosuka faced relentless pressure. Bulkheads were welded in haste, and anti-torpedo bulges intended to absorb underwater blasts were joined to the main hull with shortcuts recorded in yard progress sheets. The elevator footprints, nearly 15 meters across, carved distinctive wells through the hangar decks. The hangars themselves were left unfinished. Instead of aircraft, racks for 50 Oka rocket bombs filled the space. Many watertight doors and pumps remained uninstalled at launch, leaving the lower compartments exposed to flooding. On the seabed, Shinano's unique identity would be unmistakable. The massive armored hull plates, the geometry of the elevator wells, and the traces of Oka stowage would set her apart from any other wreck. Each of these features reflects the collision of battleship origins and carrier ambitions, a hybrid design visible in every line and weld. Orders arrived from Imperial Navy headquarters with no room for debate. Shinano, still unfinished, was to leave Yokosuka on November 28, 1944, bound for Kure. The carrier's compartments echoed with the sounds of hurried work, pumps untested, watertight doors stacked in passageways, and civilian yard workers still aboard. The pressure was not just technical, it was strategic. American bombers threatened Tokyo Bay, and Japan's battered carrier fleet needed any reinforcements it could muster, no matter how incomplete. The ship's vast hangars, instead of holding aircraft, were packed with 50 Oka rocket-propelled kamikaze bombs, their presence a stark sign of Japan's turn to desperate measures. 3 destroyers, Isokaze, Hamikaze, and Yukikaze, took up escort positions as Shinano slipped out of port in the early afternoon, her engines pushing her through the channel at a reduced speed. Every hour at the dock meant greater risk of air attack, and every mile at sea meant trusting an unfinished hull and untrained crew to survive. The decision to sail was not made by the officers on board, but by the command's calculation that a damaged, half-ready supercarrier was still too valuable to lose to an air raid. So, with the fate of her cargo and crew hanging in the balance, Shinano began her only voyage. The decisive moment came at 3:15 in the morning on November 29, 1944, when the American submarine Archer-Fish, commanded by Joseph Enright, released a spread of 6 torpedoes toward Shinano as the carrier steamed southeast of Honshu. 4 torpedoes struck the starboard side in rapid succession. The first hit forward of amidships, tearing open refrigerated stores and aviation fuel tanks. 2 more slammed into the area near the No. 3 boiler room, instantly killing the watch and flooding the engineering spaces. The fourth torpedo detonated further aft, rupturing hull plating and letting seawater rush into the shaft alley and machinery compartments. Within minutes, the carrier heeled sharply to starboard. Captain Toshio Abe, faced with darkness and confusion, ordered a reduction in speed and tried to steer toward the coast, hoping to beach the ship. The crew scrambled to seal bulkheads and start pumps, but the unfinished state of Shinano worked against them. Watertight doors lay uninstalled and many pumps sat idle or incomplete. Floodwater poured through open passageways, spreading unchecked from compartment to compartment. Abe refused to break radio silence or use searchlights, clinging to orders that prioritized secrecy over immediate rescue. Damage control teams, many drawn from untrained yard workers and green sailors, battled rising water with little coordination. By dawn, the list had grown past 20 degrees. Power faded as boiler rooms drowned. The escorts circled, dropping depth charges at suspected submarine tracks, but the threat had already passed. Over the next 7 hours, Shinano's fate was sealed by every shortcut and compromise made during her rushed construction. When abandoned ship was finally ordered at 10:18 in the morning, chaos reigned. Out of 2,515 men and civilians aboard, 1,435 never made it out. In the hours after Shinano disappeared beneath the waves, the precise location of her final plunge became a puzzle that would frustrate searchers for decades. Wartime navigation relied on dead reckoning, estimating position by speed and heading, with no satellites or GPS to verify the result. On a dark, overcast morning, with the carrier drifting helplessly after losing power, even experienced officers could only guess at their distance from shore. The last reported coordinates from Japanese and American sources differ by more than 20 nautical miles, a margin of error that grows with every hour a crippled ship drifts in strong currents. The region southeast of Cape Shiono, where Shinano is believed to have gone down, drops off quickly into the deep Pacific. Depth soundings chart a seabed over 4,000 meters below the surface, carved by underwater gullies and prone to landslides. These steep slopes and soft sediments can bury or scatter even massive wrecks, hiding them beneath layers of silt or breaking them apart as they tumble down the escarpment. Without reliable position fixes and with the probability of hull breakup or drift after sinking, the search area balloons into a vast ellipse, tens of miles across. Modern search teams must contend not just with depth, but with a seafloor that can swallow evidence whole. Every missing logbook, every unrecorded drift magnifies the uncertainty. As a result, the mystery of Shinano's resting place is as much a product of navigational haze and geological concealment as it is of wartime secrecy. Decades after Shinano vanished, every formal hunt for her wreck has ended in frustration. U.S. Navy track charts from the late 1940s offered only broad guesses, and Japanese maritime agencies mapped the area's underwater slopes but found nothing conclusive. In the 1980s and the 1990s, deep-sea research groups and private veterans teams scanned sectors of the Honshu Shelf using side-scan sonar, yet no hull or flight deck fragments with Shinano's telltale armored geometry were confirmed. The main obstacles have always been cost, depth, and access. With the likely site sitting 4 kilometers down in Japanese waters, any serious expedition faces a price tag running into millions of dollars, strict government permission, and a limited window between typhoon seasons. Even the best-funded surveys have been forced to abandon their efforts when sonar returns proved ambiguous, or the terrain proved too unstable for safe ROV descent. The result is a patchwork of partial surveys and unprocessed data, leaving large swaths of the suspected debris field untouched. Each failed attempt only sharpens the need for a more targeted, evidence-driven approach. 3 candidate search zones now stand out, each anchored by a different thread of historical evidence. The first zone, Box A, lies southeast of Cape Shiono, centered on the final coordinates reported by Japanese sources, an area where navigators estimated Shinano drifted after power loss. This box matches the timeline in Imperial Navy logs and accounts for the likely 2 hours of uncontrolled drift before sinking, covering depths beyond 4,000 meters. Box B shifts northeast, guided by the bearings and range calculations in Commander Enright's after-action report for the submarine Archer-Fish. The logic follows the submarine's radar fixes and speed reductions, placing the probable wreck site closer to the American estimate, still on the deep continental slope, but offset from the Japanese position by nearly 15 nautical miles. Box C draws on survivor testimony, especially accounts of the ship's final list and the time of capsizing. This zone stretches along the slope where strong currents and post-sinking drag could have pulled the hull further east before it finally vanished. Each box covers a swath of complex terrain, but all share the same technical demand: high-resolution side-scan sonar to detect armored hull sections, followed by remotely operated vehicle photogrammetry to confirm the distinctive elevator wells, and Yamato-class armor on the seabed. Beneath over 6,000 meters of Pacific darkness, Shinano's remains elude even today's deep-sea technology. As underwater mapping advances and maritime frontiers shrink, what else lies hidden beneath unsearched seafloors? One ship's unresolved fate reminds us, history's greatest secrets may still wait in the silence below. Share your theory below.